dim your screen, settle under a warm blanket, and take a deep, slow breath. Tonight, we look up at the night sky, tracing the weightless, invisible journey of water in our atmosphere. Let your shoulders drop as you listen to the rhythmic patter outside. There's a profound, comforting science to this sound. As we begin our slow journey through 100 calming facts about rain and fog, you will realize that the atmosphere doesn't just surround us, it gently cushions our world. Think of the air around you right now. Even in a dry room, invisible water vapor is floating completely weightless. Every single breath you take connects you to the vast global cycle of our planet. As the night grows darker, these molecules begin to cool, slowing down their microscopic dance, preparing to transform into something beautiful. Let your mind drift into this quiet, floating space as we follow the very first molecule of water ascending into the silent, starless ocean above us. The night sky above us is often perceived as a vast, silent emptiness, a dark void that separates our earthly existence from the distant stars. Yet, if we shift our perspective and look closer, we begin to realize that the atmosphere is not empty at all. It is a profound, sprawling ocean of matter, a fluid medium that flows and breathes in perfect synchronization with the planet below. This aerial ocean stretches for miles upward, composed of invisible currents, shifting thermal layers, and monumental structures that drift silently across the darkness. When we look up at the clouds drifting beneath the moon, we are not looking at mere smoke or ghost-like gas. We are gazing upon colossal, physical continents of moisture, heavy and real, suspended in a delicate state of perpetual equilibrium. To understand the true nature of a cloud is to abandon the illusion of its weightlessness. Every cloud is a massive, shifting assembly of trillions of liquid water droplets and microscopic ice crystals. Together, these tiny entities constitute a weight that defies our ordinary intuition. A single medium-sized cumulus cloud can weigh hundreds of tons, carrying a mass equivalent to a fleet of heavy commercial aircraft or a biological giant of the deep ocean. This immense weight hovers directly above our heads, yet it does not come crashing down. It remains poised in the sky, cradled by forces that operate entirely beyond our everyday visual awareness. The secret to this magnificent suspension lies in the grand architecture of the atmosphere and the hidden behavior of rising air. As the sun warms the surface of the earth during the day, the soil, the rocks, and the oceans absorb this energy, slowly radiating it back outward as heat. This warmth creates invisible columns of ascending air, known to science as thermal updrafts. These warm currents act like vast, gentle hands, rising from the forests and plains, pushing upward against the pulling force of gravity. Because the microscopic droplets within a cloud are incredibly small, their individual surface area is exceptionally large relative to their mass. This ratio means that even the faintest, most gentle upward movement of warm air is more than enough to counteract their desire to fall. The droplets are caught in a beautiful, endless dance, suspended in a state of atmospheric cradle, where the downward pull of the entire planet is temporarily balanced by the soft, upward breathing of the warming earth. Within this quiet, suspended world, the atmosphere hides an even deeper microphysical mystery, a process that governs how a single drop of rain actually begins its life. Under normal conditions, we tend to believe that when water vapor cools sufficiently, it automatically condenses into liquid water. However, the true physics of the atmosphere reveal a much more complex and poetic reality. In an environment of absolutely pure, sterile air, water molecules cannot simply gather together and form a stable droplet on their own. The random collisions of water vapor molecules are too chaotic, too energetic to allow them to bind into a lasting structure. Left to themselves in a void of perfect cleanliness, the molecules would bounce apart, unable to bridge the gap between gas and liquid. To find its shape, to transition from a scattered gas into a unified entity, water requires a catalyst. It desperately needs a point of support, a microscopic anchor around which it can gather. Science refers to these essential anchors as cloud condensation nuclei. They're the invisible, solid foundations of the sky, drifting silently through the upper atmosphere. These particles come from a multitude of ancient, earthly sources. Some are tiny grains of mineral dust, lifted from the expansive, silent dunes of distant deserts by high-altitude winds. Others are minute crystals of sea salt, born in the spray of violent ocean storms, dried by the sun, and carried miles into the heavens. Still others are the incredibly fine remnants of volcanic ash, ejected from the fiery core of the earth thousands of years ago, remaining suspended in the stratosphere as a permanent global mist. There are even biological particles, such as microscopic spores from deep forest floors or pollen grains carried aloft by the wind. Every single raindrop that has ever fallen to the earth required one of these tiny, ancient pieces of the world to begin its journey. In the quiet darkness of the upper atmosphere, the invisible water vapor molecules drift through the cold currents, searching for these silent anchors. When a water molecule encounters a grain of desert dust or a speck of sea salt, the chaotic motion slows down. The particle provides a structural surface, a tiny shelf upon which the water molecules can finally rest and arrange themselves. The first few molecules attach to the anchor, forming a microscopic layer of moisture. This initial layer immediately alters the local physics, acting as a magnetic invitation for other nearby water molecules to join. The water wraps its cold, fluid arms around the ancient grain of dust, embracing in the darkness. And through this quiet embrace, the droplet finally achieves a physical form. As we ascend higher into the colder, more remote layers of the atmosphere, the behavior of water becomes even more extraordinary, entering a realm of physics that challenges our conventional understanding of freezing points. In the lower world, we are taught that water invariably turns to ice when the temperature drops to 0 degrees Celsius. But in the pristine, isolated heights of the upper troposphere, water enters a mystical state known as supercooling. Here, far above the warmth of the ground, the air temperature can plummet to -10, -20, and even -40 degrees Celsius, yet the water droplets remain entirely liquid. They exist in a state of vulnerable, hypersensitive fluidity, defying the freezing cold simply because the water is too pure and the environment too undisturbed for ice crystals to initiate. In this supercooled state, the water molecules are arranged in a tense, fragile alignment. They're incredibly cold, far below the threshold of freezing, yet they maintain their liquid freedom. They drift through the freezing night like liquid glass, resisting the natural compulsion to solidify. This state of supercooling is a profound example of natural hesitation, a prolonged moment of atmospheric indecision, where the liquid water hovers on the absolute edge of transformation. The molecules are waiting, suspended in a quiet limbo, holding on to their fluid identity against immense thermodynamic pressures. The spell of supercooling is broken only when the liquid droplet encounters the correct catalyst, a specific type of airborne particle known as an ice nucleating agent. This particle possesses a molecular structure that closely mimics the geometric lattice of an ice crystal. The moment a supercooled droplet bumps into the specific dust grain or ice nucleus in the deep freeze of a sky, an instantaneous chain reaction occurs. The delicate hesitation vanishes in a fraction of a second. The contact triggers a rapid, elegant rearrangement of the water molecules, spreading outward from the nucleus like a wave of silent alignment. The liquid instantly crystallizes, transforming into a delicate ice crystal of mesmerizing symmetry. Once this initial crystal is established, it becomes a powerful center of growth within the cloud. Through a physical mechanism known as the Bergeron process, the vapor pressure surrounding an ice crystal is lower than the vapor pressure surrounding neighboring liquid droplets. This subtle energetic difference creates a continuous, invisible flow of moisture. The remaining supercooled liquid droplets in the vicinity begin to evaporate, releasing their water vapor into the air, which is then immediately drawn toward the growing ice crystal. The crystal acts like a silent magnet, pulling in these free-made molecules, which freeze directly onto its surface, layer by elegant layer. The delicate crystal expands, branching out into intricate geometric patterns, building a miniature cathedral of ice in the silent darkness of the sky. Eventually, as the ice crystal continues to absorb moisture from its surroundings, a point of physical transition arrives. The crystal grows larger, gathering more mass, and often collide with other tiny droplets or crystals, fusing together into a complex, heavier structure. As it descends into slightly warmer layers of air beneath the freezing zone, the intricate ice architecture begins to soften. The delicate points of the crystal melt slightly, smoothing out its sharp edges, transforming the solid structure back into a dense, unified sphere of liquid water. This is the true birth of a mature raindrop. At this precise moment, a fundamental shift occurs in the balance of forces that have held the moisture aloft for hours. The raindrop has grown too heavy for the invisible, warm hands of the thermal updrafts to support. The upward pressure of the rising air currents can no longer counteract the steady, unyielding pull of the Earth's gravitational field. The delicate equilibrium that defined the cloud's existence is gently broken. This transition is not a sudden or violent event. It is a smooth, inevitable surrender to the laws of nature. The drop does not experience its release as a chaotic plunge, but rather as the beginning of a long, methodical journey downward. It detaches itself from the vast communal body of the cloud, stepping out into the open space of the atmosphere. The air beneath it offers a gentle, fluid resistance, slowing its descent to a steady, terminal velocity. As the drop leaves the high, frozen cradle of its birth, it begins its slow, rhythmic descent to the quiet layers of the night, moving steadily toward the waiting earth below, bringing with it the ancient memory of the desert dust and the silent secrets of the upper sky. The acoustic canvas of the nocturnal downpour is far more than a simple chaotic sequence of water hitting terrestrial surfaces. It is a profound masterclass in mathematical elegance, structural physics, and evolutionary engineering that speaks directly to the deepest chambers of the human subconscious. When we lie in the quiet safety of a darkened room and listen to the steady, unyielding resonance of rain outside our windows, we are participating in an ancient relationship that has shaped the neurological pathways of our species, for hundreds of thousands of years. The sound does not merely cover the silence of the night. It actively transforms our cognitive landscape, systematically dismantling the architecture of daytime anxiety and replacing it with a fluid, deep-seated sense of neurological tranquility. To understand why the sound possesses such an unparalleled ability to guide the human mind into profoundest depths of slumber, we must explore the beautiful intersection where atmospheric physics meets neurobiology and where mathematical fractals dissolve the boundaries of our internal monologues. To comprehend the sheer depth of this acoustic comfort, we must first look at the pure physics of sound and analyze the precise structural differences that distinguish the sound of falling rain from ordinary artificial noises. In the language of acoustics, the sound we perceive are defined by how their energy is distributed across the vast spectrum of audible frequencies. Most people are familiar with the concept of white noise, which is frequently used to describe a flat, consistent hiss, such as the static of an untuned television or the steady roar of a mechanical ventilation fan. From a purely physical standpoint, white noise contains equal energy per hertz across the entire audible spectrum, meaning that the highest, sharpest frequencies carry the exact same amount of acoustic power as the lowest, deepest bass tones. Because the human ear is naturally more sensitive to higher frequencies, we perceive white noise as something flat, harsh, and inherently clinical, resembling an impenetrable, rigid wall of sound that can eventually become fatiguing to the nervous system. The acoustic signature of a steady rainstorm, however, is governed by an entirely different mathematical and physical law known to science as pink noise. Unlike its white counterpart, pink noise distributes its acoustic energy inversely proportional to the frequency of the sound, meaning that as the pitch rises, the energy systematically drops. In the physics of wave mechanics, this creates a spectral profile where the power decreases by 3 decibels per octave as the frequency increases. This specific mathematical distribution means that pink noise is heavily weighted toward the lower, deeper, and softer end of the auditory spectrum. When trillions of independent raindrops collide with the leaves of trees, the soft soil of the earth, and the architectural structures of our homes, they collectively generate a deep, rolling, sub-bass resonance that gently blankets the environment. This heavy concentration of low-frequency energy alters the way the human auditory cortex processes sensory information during the night. High-frequency sounds are inherently alarming to our biology because they typically signify sudden transitions in the environment, such as a snapping twig, a breaking object, or a sharp vocalization. Pink noise, with its dominant, rich, and velvety low frequencies, wraps around the human ear like a physical layer of insulation. It creates an expansive acoustic cushion that possesses a remarkable capacity for auditory masking. Because the deep frequencies of the rain saturate the auditory pathways without overwhelming them, they effectively raise the baseline threshold of hearing. Any sudden, sharp, or unpredictable ambient noises that might occur in the deep of the night, such as the creaking of a shifting house, the distant mechanical rattle of a vehicle, or the sharp footsteps of an animal, are instantly absorbed and neutralized by this massive, soft wave of sub-bass energy. The brain is spared from the necessity of processing these sudden spikes in sound, allowing the thalamus, which acts as a sensory gatekeeper of our sleep, to remain completely undisturbed, locked in a state of continuous, unthreatened repose. As this physical wave of pink noise insulates our physical senses, it simultaneously unlocks an ancient genetic treasury of emotional safety that is deeply embedded within the evolutionary history of the human brain. The modern human nervous system is a product of millions of years of adaptation, a highly complex mechanism designed primarily to ensure survival in environments fraught with unpredictable dangers. Throughout the vast, unfolding epic of human evolution, our ancestors did not sleep in structurally fortified, climate-controlled environments. They slept in vulnerable shelters, exposed to the elements, where the threat of nocturnal predators, rival tribes, and sudden brush fires was a constant, life-threatening reality. In this primal landscape, the brain evolved a hypervigilant scanning system that remained active even during the deep phases of sleep, constantly listening to the darkness for the slightest sign of an approaching threat. Within this framework of ancestral survival, the arrival of a heavy, sustained rainstorm represented a radical shift in the environmental dynamics of the world, signaling a period of absolute, non-negotiable safety. When a powerful downpour swept across the plains or through the dense canopies of primeval forests, the entire natural world was forced into a state of immediate, quiet arrest. Apex predators, whose survival depended on precise tracking, acute vision, and silent movement, were rendered completely ineffective by the driving water and the muddy ground. They could not hunt in the downpour, choosing instead to retreat into the deep recesses of their dens to wait out the storm. Similarly, the threat of wildfires, which could destroy an entire tribal territory in a matter of hours, was completely neutralized by the saturating moisture falling from the sky. The heavy rain also made movement nearly impossible for rival human groups, turning open terrain into a difficult morass and completely masking any tactical approach. Therefore, for hundreds of thousands of generations, the sound of a steady, heavy rain was the ultimate environmental indicator that the world had entered a temporary state of truce. It was a universal natural signal that the dangers of the wilderness had been effectively contained by the elements. When our ancestors heard the rhythmic, enveloping roar of the storm hitting the leaves above their shelters, their brains recognized that they were completely protected from the ordinary hazards of the night. The hypervigilant scanning mechanisms of the primitive mind could finally stand down. This profound realization of safety became hardwired into our genetic memory, passed down to the millennia into the biology of modern humans. When we listen to the rain today, our conscious minds may only think of comfort and coziness, but our deep subcortical brain structures are recognizing an ancient lullaby of survival. The sound triggers an immediate downregulation of the sympathetic nervous system, turning off the primitive fight-or-flight response, reducing the production of stress hormones like cortisol, and signaling to heart and lungs that it is safe to slow down, to surrender control, and to sink into the deep, restorative waters of undisturbed sleep. Beyond the physical properties of pink noise and the deep architecture of evolutionary memory, the acoustic landscape of rain possesses a mesmerizing mathematical beauty that operates on the principles of fractal geometry. To the casual observer, the sound of rain might seem like a purely chaotic, randomized event, a formless white noise generated by countless unrelated impacts. However, if we subject the acoustic patterns of a rainstorm to rigorous mathematical analysis, we discover that the timing and intensity of the individual drops are organized into a beautiful, self-similar structure known as an acoustic fractal. In classical geometry, objects are defined by rigid whole-number dimensions, but in the geometry of nature, structures exhibit a quality where the same patterns repeat themselves across completely different scales of time and space. The rhythm of falling rain is a perfect manifestation of this fractal order. A single raindrop strikes a leaf with a specific acoustic signature. A localized group of drops hitting a branch creates a larger, structurally similar pattern. And the collective impact of millions of drops across an entire forest forms an overarching, massive symphony that mirrors the exact same mathematical distribution found at the microscopic level. This means that the rhythm of the rain is neither perfectly predictable like the sterile, monotonous ticking of a metronome, nor is it completely unpredictable and jarring like a chaotic explosion. Instead, it exists in a state of perfect natural balance, a fluid, ever-shifting pattern that is constantly changing yet always remains completely true to its underlying mathematical archetype. This specific fractal configuration has a truly remarkable effect on the neurophysiology of the human mind, particularly regarding the way we process internal thoughts and anxiety. The human brain is a natural pattern recognition engine, constantly attempting to analyze, predict, and categorize the incoming data from our sensory organs. When we are lying awake at night, struggling to transition into sleep, the conscious mind often becomes trapped in a loop of hyperactive internal monologue and anxious speculation. This internal voice is a result of the brain's default mode network operating at a high level of energy, continually recycling worries about the past or constructing hypothetical scenarios about the future. Left in a state of absolute, silent darkness, this internal network accelerates, using the absence of external sensory data to fuel its own anxious projections. When the fractal rhythm of the rain fills the room, it introduces a sensory pattern that is perfectly calibrated to disarm this loop of internal anxiety. Because the sound of the rain is constantly changing in its micro details, never repeating itself in an exact, identical sequence, the brain's pattern recognition systems are drawn toward it, captivated by its subtle complexity. The mind begins to follow the unfolding sonic tapestry, listening to the soft crests and troughs of the wind as it pushes the moisture across the roof, tracing the unpredictable yet familiar cadence of individual drops striking the glass. However, because this fractal pattern is completely non-threatening and profoundly organized, the brain does not need to analyze it for hidden dangers or look for intellectual meaning. There are no words to decode, no sudden narrative shifts to comprehend, and no problems to solve. The auditory cortex becomes occupied with a beautiful, infinite mathematical puzzle that requires zero cognitive effort to process. This gentle engagement acts as a highly effective form of neurological distraction. The fractal rhythm of the rain slowly absorbs the mental energy that would otherwise be used to sustain the internal monologue, occupying the focus of the conscious mind just enough to pull it away from its anxious loops. It is like a soft, acoustic anchor that holds the attention in the present moment, preventing it from drifting into the stressful territories of daytime memory. As the brain continues to perceive this endless, beautiful, and non-repeating symmetry, the high-frequency beta waves associated with active, analytical thought begin to dissipate. They are systematically replaced by the slower, more synchronized alpha and theta brain waves, which characterize the beautiful twilight zone between waking consciousness and the deep, silent realm of dreams. As the night deepens, the continuous wall of warm pink noise, the comforting embrace of evolutionary security, and the hypnotic dance of the acoustic fractals fuse together into a singular, monumental force of nature that completely dominates our sensory environment. The distinctions between the external world and our internal awareness begin to soften and blur. The sound of the rain becomes a steady, breathing presence that fills every corner of our consciousness, washing over the mind like a gentle, cleansing tide. The individual thoughts that seem so urgent and unyielding during the daylight hours lose their form, dissolving into the vast, dark ocean of the acoustic landscape outside. We are no longer separate entities listening to a storm. We are part of a larger global cycle, resting safely beneath a sky that is methodically redistributing its weight across the face of the earth. Protected by the immutable laws of physics, insulated by the deep wisdom of our biological heritage, and cradled by the perfect mathematics of the natural world, the conscious mind finally lets go of its long, exhausting vigil, slipping effortlessly beneath the surface of the sound, and drowning beautifully in the deep, unbothered silence of a perfect, dreamless sleep. When the daytime world slowly fades away, giving way to the quiet coolness of the advancing night, the atmosphere of the planet undergoes a remarkable physical transformation that profoundly alters our perception of space and time. There are moments when the immense celestial structures we are accustomed to observing at unreachable heights in the form of cloud formations make a gentle decision to descend directly to the surface of the earth. This phenomenon, which we identify as fog, is nothing less than a magnificent cloud that has chosen to rest softly upon the ground, gathering the environment into its cool, weightless embrace. In this quiet transition, the boundary between the heavens and the terrestrial realm is completely dissolved, and we find ourselves living within a breathing, fluid structure composed of countless billions of microscopic water droplets suspended in the air just above the soil. The physical nature of this condition is both beautifully simple and deeply complex, as it systematically disrupts the familiar transparency of our atmosphere, replacing it with dense, monochrome suspension where material objects lose their sharp edges, rigid angles, and vibrant daytime colors. Moving through this silent environment, the human mind immediately notices how the surrounding world sheds its geometric complexity, transforming into an endless, soft expanse where every movement feels slowed down and the very concept of human haste loses its validity. The microscopic droplets of water that constitute this low-lying cloud are so incredibly small and light that their individual diameters are measured in mere micrometers, a scale that allows them to exist in a state of perfect hydrodynamic equilibrium. They do not fall immediately to the earth like raindrops. Instead, they hover in place, defying the immediate pull of gravity through the natural resistance of the air molecules surrounding them. They occupy every spatial pocket of the landscape, filling the voids between trees, gathering in the low hollows of fields, and blanketing the quiet streets of sleeping towns, creating a palpable sensation that the air itself has become tangible, dense, and remarkably viscous. Within this white nocturnal quietude, the visual noise of our daily lives is completely dismantled. The light from distant lamps or the pale glow of the moon no longer cuts through the darkness in straight, penetrating beams. Instead, it encounters millions of liquid spheres, scattering uniformly in every direction to create a soft, dim, and unbothered luminosity that is entirely devoid of harsh contrasts or deep shadows. The earth, wrapped in this humid shroud, appears to slumber beneath a colossal blanket of absolute peace, and the complex machinery of human civilization naturally slows its pace, yielding to the immutable law of atmospheric stillness. As the fog deepens and solidifies its presence across the valleys, forest pathways, and empty urban spaces, its most extraordinary scientific secret begins to manifest within the realms of acoustics and wave mechanics. A careful observer resting within this misty night inevitably notices that the world has become preternaturally silent, as if the entire auditory landscape of human activity has been deliberately muted or erased from existence. This deep, velvety silence is not an illusion created by the subjective human mind. It is supported by a beautiful physical process involving precise manner in which acoustic waves interact with a highly dispersed liquid medium. In ordinary, clear air, sound travels with relative ease as a series of longitudinal compression and rarefaction waves, encountering few physical obstacles and allowing the rumble of distant traffic, the sharp voices of passers-by, and the industrial hum of distant machinery to carry over many miles. However, when the atmosphere becomes saturated with trillions of independent water spheres, the physical architecture of the air is fundamentally rewritten, converting the open environment into an immense, interlocking matrix of acoustic traps. Every single microscopic droplet suspended in the fog functions as a minute, structurally perfect sound-absorbing screen and mechanical damper. When a sound wave attempts to propagate through this dense aquatic suspension, it immediately hits an unyielding barrier formed by countless liquid boundaries. Rather than moving forward along a linear path, the acoustic energy is forced into an endless series of collisions with these suspended microspheres. With each collision, a complex process of acoustic scattering and fractal fragmentation takes place. Water, possessing a significantly higher density and specific heat capacity compared to the surrounding atmospheric gases, actively saps the kinetic energy from the advancing sound wave, converting those mechanical vibrations into infinitesimal, unnoticeable amount of thermal energy. The sound wave, thoroughly entangled in this infinite three-dimensional web of moisture, rapidly loses its amplitude, fracturing into billions a minute, decaying microechoes until it is completely extinguished, failing to cross even a modest distance from its point of origin. In this hidden physical struggle between wave mechanics and liquid matter, different frequencies of sound exhibit vastly different behaviors, resulting in a unique acoustic profile that belongs exclusively to the fog-covered night. The first elements that perish within this atmospheric water trap are the high and sharp frequencies, such as the distant screech of mechanical brakes, sudden vocalizations, the metallic rattle of tools, or the high-pitched whistling of the wind. Because these high frequencies possess short wavelengths, their physical dimensions are perfectly matched to be scattered and broken up by the microscopic geometry of the fog droplets. These intrusive sounds, which ordinarily trigger an immediate biological state of vigilance or alarm in the human nervous system, are completely severed from the environment within just a few meters of their source. Low-frequency sounds, by virtue of their long wavelengths, can penetrate slightly deeper into mist, but even they undergo a profound transformation, losing their mechanical sharpness and resolving into a deep, hollow, and exceptionally soft rumble that sounds like the slow, sub-bass breathing of the earth itself. Through the selective absorption of sound, the fog constructs a flawless acoustic dome around the individual, acting as a massive natural filter that purges the night of all cognitive clutter and acoustic disruption. Within this dome, every remaining sound becomes rounded, softened, and reassuringly distant, offering the total illusion of resting within an isolated sanctuary whose walls are woven out of pure moisture and absolute stillness. When the external noises and visual disruptions of the daytime world are systematically dismantled by this magnificent natural insulator, the human psyche experiences a state of profound meditative decompression. The modern individual spends their waking hours subjected to an overwhelming amount of sensory stimulation, with our sensory organs continually bombarded by information, intense lighting, shifting visual landscapes, and the unpredictable chaos of urban environments. Even when we prepare for sleep in the quietest room of our home, the brain continues to operate a subconscious scanning mechanism, registering the distant hum of highways or the subtle movements of the surrounding structure, which keeps our nervous system locked in a state of mild, continuous tension. However, when a dense, uncompromising night fog takes possession of the landscape outside, the fundamental rules of environmental awareness are rewritten, and the individual is placed within a safe, self-contained protective cocoon. The visible world shrinks to a comfortable, intimate perimeter of just an arm's length, beyond which lies only a soft, white void that demands nothing and threatens nothing. This dramatic reduction of the spatial horizon induces an immediate psychological realignment, as the conscious mind realizes it no longer needs to monitor vast distances or calculate potential hazards in a remote environment. Cradled within the safety of this mental shield, the physical body begins to relax in perfect synchronization, responding directly to the sharp drop in ambient acoustic pressure and the total absence of sudden auditory shocks. The complex musculature of the face, neck, and shoulders, which often carries the accumulated tension of analytical thought and waking focus, begins to loosen its grip, yielding to the steady weight of physical comfort. The electrical currents traveling along our neural pathways slow their velocity, aligning themselves with the calm, undisturbed rhythms of a planet that has chosen to pause its momentum. Freed from the constant labor of filtering out external noise and interpreting visual data, the human mind finds itself in possession of a rare, crystal clear, and boundless mental space. The internal monologue, which typically feeds upon random external stimuli and the recollection of daytime tasks, begins to lose its vitality. Thoughts no longer collide with one another or spin into loops of anxiety and planning. Instead, they become fluid, slow, and beautifully indistinct, mirroring the behavior of the silent fog droplets outside the window. The brain transitions seamlessly from a state of active vigilance into a realm of passive contemplation, where the boundaries between our internal awareness and the quiet world outside begin to soften and fade away. As the deep hours of the night progress, the continuous presence of this moisture-laden atmosphere acts as a gentle anchor for our consciousness, drawing us deeper into a state of rest that feels ancient and secure. The air, heavy with suspended water, carries a unique coolness that feels clean and restorative to breathe, filling the lungs with a pure, unpolluted essence that seems to wash away the mental fatigue of the day. Every breath becomes a rhythmic, meditative cycle, a slow rise and fall that connects our physical being to the grand, silent processes of the earth. The world outside has ceased to be a place of transactions, schedules, and movement. It has returned to its primal identity as a quiet cosmic body, drifting through the dark, insulated by its own breathing architecture. The houses, the trees, the roads, and the fields are all equalized under the uniform white canopy of the mist, stripped of their social labels and returned to a state of simple, material existence. In this sanctuary of absolute damp stillness, the passing of time loses its linear urgency, dissolving into a singular, unending moment of true present awareness. We are no longer compelled to think about the hours that have passed or the responsibilities that await us when the sun eventually returns to the sky. The fog creates a temporal barrier just as effectively as it creates an acoustic one, isolating the current moment from the broader continuum of human schedules. Within this space, the mind can finally rest without guilt, recognizing that the entire planet had conspired to create a zone of total stillness where nothing is expected of us. The heavy demands of identity, achievement, and social obligation are absorbed by the trillions of suspended water spheres, leaving only the pure, uncomplicated reality of a living being preparing to enter the deep world of dreams. The deeper structures of the human brain, which have evolved over millennia to recognize the safety of an isolated, silent environment, respond to this acoustic dome by entering the earliest stages of sleep architecture. The thalamus slows its gating mechanism. The heart rate establishes a steady, tranquil rhythm, and the blood pressure drops in response to the absolute lack of environmental friction. We feel entirely enveloped, protected on all sides by a vast, soft cushion that prevents the chaos of the universe from reaching our consciousness. It is a state of primitive comfort that reminds us of the quiet spaces of our deepest origins, a place where the world is reduced to the sound of our own breath and the invisible presence of protective sky. As we drift closer to the edge of complete slumber, the soft, low-frequency hum that occasionally filters through the fog becomes a gentle, hypnotic lullaby, a sound that does not disturb but rather deepens our commitment to rest. The individual thoughts that remain within our awareness become increasingly abstract, transforming into soft visual metaphors and fluid impressions that have no anchors in daytime logic. They float through the mind like the mist itself, changing shape without effort, blending into one another until they lose all definition. We find ourselves letting go of the need to understand, the need to control, and the need to remain awake, surrendering our entire existence to the immense, quiet forces that govern the nocturnal earth. Outside, the fog continues its silent vigil, a monument of pure, suspended water that stands between our resting bodies and the infinite reaches of the dark universe. It remains unmoved by the passage of the hours, a perfect expression of physical balance and atmospheric minimalism that shows us how to exist without tension. Locked within this perfect acoustic dome, shielded by the beautiful physics of sound absorption, and comforted by the complete erasure of the modern world, the conscious mind finally breaks its long connection to the waking state. It sinks effortlessly beneath the heavy, silver surface of the stillness, descending into the deep, unbothered, and restorative waters of a perfect, dreamless sleep, completely at one with the silent, cloud-wrapped earth. The long, celestial journey of the water droplet, which began in the absolute stillness of the upper atmosphere, is now approaching its final, peaceful destination. For hours, or perhaps what feels like an eternity, in the quiet geometry of night, these countless liquid spheres have traveled to the cool, dark expanses of the air. They have grown from invisible clusters of vapor into perfect, heavy globes of pure water, pulled downward by the steady, unyielding embrace of the earth. Below them, the land waits in patient, silent anticipation. It is a landscape that has been baked by the warmth of the sun, dried by the gentle passing of summer winds, and left porous, thirsty, and deeply still. The soil, the ancient stones, the fallen leaves, and the roots of sleeping trees are all turned upward, ready to receive the sky. As the first scattered drops begin to touch the ground, a profound and beautiful transformation takes place at the boundary, where the atmosphere meets the solid earth. This is not merely a physical collision, but a delicate microchemical awakening, a release of ancient memories trapped within the dry architecture of the soil, triggering a sensory experience that has comforted and protected living beings since the very dawn of consciousness. When a single heavy raindrop completes its downward descent and strikes the surface of a dry, porous rock or a fine grain of earth, the physics of the impact unfold with an astonishing microscopic elegance. At the exact moment of contact, the bottom of the water droplet flattens against the solid surface, while the top of the sphere continues to move downward under its own momentum. This sudden deceleration causes the liquid to compress, trapping tiny, infinitesimal pockets of air between the water and the dry, textured ground beneath. These microscopic air bubbles are instantly squeezed and compressed by the weight of the surrounding water, because the air is lighter than the liquid enveloping it, and because the pressure within the collapsing droplet increases with immense speed. These tiny bubbles begin to accelerate upward to the core of the drop. They rush toward the surface of the water like miniature, invisible rockets, gathering speed as they climb. When they reach the outer boundary of the droplet, they do not merely escape, they violently break through the surface tension, causing the thin water membrane to rupture. As these bubbles burst into the open air, they produce an incredibly fine, microscopic spray, launching a vast cloud of tiny liquid particles upward into the atmosphere. This is the birth of a natural aerosol, a floating, ethereal mist composed of hundreds of thousands of microscopic droplets so lightweight that they ignore the immediate pull of gravity, suspended effortlessly in the night air. This gentle, microscopic eruption occurs simultaneously across millions of scattered points where the rain meets the earth. Every single raindrop acts as a tiny, natural pump, pulling air into its core and expelling a fine, invisible fog of organic compounds that have spent weeks or months accumulating in the dry pores of ground. This aerosol mist is so light, so perfectly balanced within the thermal currents of the lower air, that the softest movement of the night wind can carry for miles. It drifts through the dark forests, floats across quiet valleys, and enters through the open windows of homes where people lie sleeping, bringing with it a deep, unmistakable fragrance that signals the arrival of the rain. The air, which only a moment ago was dry and still, is suddenly filled with a rich, complex, and deeply grounding scent that fills the darkness. It is the smell of the earth awakening, a physical bridge constructed between the cold, distant clouds of the sky and the warm, ancient stability of the ground. At the very heart of this aromatic mist, driving profound emotional and physical response it creates in all living things, is a single, remarkable organic molecule known to science as geosmin. This compound is not created by the sky, nor is a product of the water itself. It is a sacred creation of the earth, meticulously manufactured by specialized soil bacteria that live deep within the dark, microscopic spaces between grains of sand and clay. During long periods of dryness and heat, when the moisture in the ground evaporates and the earth becomes parched, these silent microbial communities enter a state of metabolic rest. To protect themselves from the drying air, they produce specific organic compounds, storing them within the upper layers of the soil like a concentrated essence of the earth's internal life. For weeks, this substance remains trapped, bound to the dry surfaces of mineral crystals and clay particles, waiting for the precise physical trigger that will release it into the world. That trigger is the impact of the raindrop, the microscopic air bubbles, and the subsequent creation of the aerosol mist that carries the geosmin molecules upward into the paths of the wind. The structure of a geosmin molecule is a beautiful arrangement of carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen atoms linked together in a specific double ring pattern that gives an extraordinary stability and an incredibly powerful sensory presence. When these floating rings drift through the night air and find their way into the human respiratory system, they interact with our biology in a manner that is nothing short of miraculous. Through the long, winding path of evolutionary history, the human nervous system has developed a relationship with geosmin that is deeply embedded in our genetic code. Our sense of smell, which we often assume to be less developed than that of other creatures, possesses a phenomenal, almost supernatural sensitivity to this specific compound. Scientific analysis has revealed that the human olfactory receptors can detect the presence of geosmin at concentrations so low that it defies conventional understanding. We are capable of identifying a single molecule of geosmin even when it is diluted among trillions of other air molecules. To put this extraordinary biological fact into perspective, our evolutionary design has made our sense of smell significantly more sensitive to the scent of the damp, rainy earth than a shark's sense of smell is to the presence of blood in the vast, deep waters of the ocean. A shark can detect a single drop of blood in millions of gallons of salt water, but a human being, resting quietly in a dark room, can sense the absolute thinnest, most microscopic trace of geosmin drifting on a breeze from miles away, recognizing instantly that the earth somewhere nearby is receiving water. This extreme, hypersensitive biological attunement to the scent of petrichor and geosmin is not an accidental quirk of nature. It is a profound evolutionary gift, an ancient survival mechanism that has been polished and perfected over millions of years. For our distant ancestors who lived in absolute, direct dependence on the shifting rhythms of the natural world, the sense of smell was a vital navigation tool, a source of critical information about the state of their environment. In those ancient times, a long period of drought was a period of immense environmental stress, a time when water sources would dry up, plants would wither, and the animals that provided food would migrate away in search of moisture. Survival depended entirely on the ability to find water, to anticipate the renewal of the landscape, and to move toward areas where life was returning. A human being who could smell the rain from vast distances, who could detect the microscopic aerosol of geosmin carried on the wind hours before the storm clouds actually arrived, possessed an unimaginable advantage. This scent was a guide, an invisible beacon to the wilderness, telling the ancient traveler that comfort, safety, and abundance were waiting just over the horizon. Because the scent of petrichor was so deeply tied to the continuation of life, it became hardwired into our neurological architecture as the ultimate symbol of safety and relief. When the geosmin molecules bind to the olfactory receptors inside the nose, they do not merely send a simple chemical message to the cognitive, thinking parts of the brain. Instead, the signal bypasses the complex, analytical centers of the mind and travels directly along the ancient paths of the olfactory nerve into the limbic system, the deepest, most primitive core of the human brain. This is the region where our deepest emotional responses, our instinctual memories, and our fundamental biological states are managed. It is a place where our survival responses are generated, controlling the delicate balance between stress and calm, between alertness and rest. The moment the chemical signature of Petrichor registers within this ancient part of the brain, a profound and immediate neurological shift takes place. The limbic system recognizes this scent as the ultimate confirmation that the period of scarcity, dryness, and environmental tension has come to an end. It understands that the rivers will soon be filled, the plants will grow, the fruits will ripen, and the world around us will once again be rich, safe, and capable of sustaining life. In response to this powerful chemical realization, the brain instantly alters its internal chemistry. The production of cortisol, the primary hormone responsible for stress, anxiety, and hypervigilance, is immediately suspended. The internal alarm systems of the body, which may have been humming with quiet tension throughout the day, are softly turned off. The neural pathways that govern the fight or flight response relax, allowing a deep, soothing wave of inhibitory neurotransmitters to wash over the central nervous system. This chemical transition manifests in the human experience as a powerful, immediate sense of grounding. It is an emotional and physical sensation of absolute mental stability, a feeling that the immediate environment is completely secure and that there are no longer any threats to guard against. As you breathe in the soft, moisture-laden air of the night, filled with the gentle essence of geosmin, your muscles begin to lose their accumulated tension. The small, tight knots of stress held in the shoulders, the neck, and the jaw simply dissolve, melting away into the background. The rhythm of your breathing automatically changes, becoming deeper, slower, and more regular, drawing the soothing chemistry of the damp earth further into your body. Your heart rate slows down, adopting a calm, steady, and restful pace that mirrors the quiet, rhythmic falling of the rain outside. It is a state of total biological reassurance, a deep return to our evolutionary roots, where the fragrance of the wet earth acts as a natural, universal sedative, whispering to the subconscious mind that the world is stable, that our needs are met, and that it is finally safe to let go of the waking world. As the night deepens, the rain continues its steady, unhurried work outside, creating a continuous, unbroken wall of soft acoustic insulation around your space. The millions of microscopic impacts on a roof, the leaves, and the ground blend together into a single, perfectly uniform sound, a beautiful white noise that gently blankets the environment. This sound possesses a rare and precious quality. It has no sharp edges, no sudden changes in volume, and no unpredictable rhythms. It is a completely predictable, continuous acoustic embrace that occupies the sensory channels of the mind, quietly blocking out any distracting noises from the distance and soothing the internal dialogue of your thoughts. Within this protected space, the air remains cool, clean, and deeply fragrant, carrying the grounding essence of Petrichor into every corner of the room, creating an atmosphere of absolute sanctuary. The mind, which may have spent the hours of the day analyzing, planning, and navigating the complex structures of modern life, finds itself with nothing left to do. The vast, intricate networks of thought begin to slow down, their movements becoming heavy, languid, and increasingly distant. The need to understand, to organize, or control the external world simply evaporates, washing away just like the dust on the summer leaves outside. You are no longer required to maintain your identity, to remember your responsibilities, or to look forward into the future. All of those concepts belong to the dry, bright hours of sun, and they have no place here in the soft, dark moisture of the rainy night. The only reality that remains is the immediate, uncomplicated comfort of your body resting in the darkness, deeply grounded by the ancient physics of the earth and the sky, the laws of nature, which govern the rotation of the planets, the condensation of the clouds, and the microscopic release of the Petrichor aerosol, are operating in perfect, effortless harmony all around you. They require no effort from you, no conscious attention, and no active participation. They are vast, eternal, and completely dependable, maintaining the safety and stability of the world while you rest. You are a part of this natural order, a living being beautifully integrated into the great cyclical mechanics of the cosmos. Just as the dry earth trusts the clouds to bring water, and just as the water trusts gravity to guide it home, your body and mind can trust the night to bring rest. The universe is holding you in its quiet, unyielding care, providing a space of absolute refuge where the darkness is not an empty void, but a rich, protective blanket of peace. With each slow, gentle breath you take, the boundary between your awareness and the deep stillness of the room becomes beautifully blurred. The remaining fragments of your thoughts begin to scatter and drift away, like the fine mist of the earth's aerosol dissolving into the midnight air. The weight of your physical body feels deeply comfortable, sinking softly into the mattress, completely supported, completely relaxed, and completely safe. There's a profound beauty in this level of relaxation, a pure returning to the ancient, quiet source of all strength and stability. The world outside is being washed clean, renewed, and cooled by the gentle rain, and inside, your mind is experiencing its own quiet renewal. Letting go of the old day, prepare for the deep, silent rest of the night. The text of your thoughts begins to fade, the words becoming fewer, the gaps between them growing wider, longer, and softer. The images in your mind lose their sharpness, dissolving into smooth, gentle gradients of shadow and deep blue. The sound of the rain outside remains a steady, comforting presence, a soft lullaby sung by the physics of the atmosphere, guiding you further and further down into the quiet depths of consciousness. There is nothing left to monitor, nothing left to perceive, and nothing left to maintain. The room is perfectly still, wrapped in a continuous wall of soft pink noise, insulated by a protective dome of moisture, and deeply grounded by the ancient chemistry of the parched earth receiving its long-awaited peace. There is nothing left to manage, nothing left to perceive, and nothing left to maintain. The symmetry of the cosmos holds us in its unyielding, gentle embrace, assuring us that everything is exactly as it should be, that the world is safe, and that the darkness of the night is a place of absolute refuge. Cradled by the perfect mechanics of the universe, insulated by the deep safety of our biological heritage, and completely dissolved in the rich, soothing fragrance of the grounded earth, your mind completely relinquishes its hold on the waking state. You slip effortlessly beneath the quiet surface of consciousness, drifting downward into the smooth, unbothered, and infinitely deep waters of perfect, dreamless sleep, wrapped forever in eternal, restoring peace of the silent, starless night. The rain continues. The earth rests. The mind lets go. Deep, quiet sleep. Deep, infinite peace. Good night.